Drew and KB bringing it to you on this Monday in the Good Land. We're live from the Iron Jock studio. We just heard from Packers head coach Matt LaFleur, and let's now hear from the Packers' number one fan, a man who carries the G 24/7, Aaron Nagler of Cheesehead TV.com. Nags' conversations on our show are brought to us by Miller Lite, Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin. There is a difference, and Rogers Behavioral Health. Good afternoon, Nags. What did you think of what the coach just had to say? I thought he seemed to be in good spirits considering all that's befallen his team.
Well, I think it's easy to look at the tape and get the answers as opposed to post-game where you're really frustrated and you're emotional. When you break down the tape and you look at things and you see how a lot of these plays, they're pretty darn close. But it seems like there's one guy on every play that is just, I don't know, having a moment, having a fog go through his brain suddenly. Like at least one dude on almost every offensive play, whether it's the offensive line, whether it's receivers running the wrong route, whether it's the quarterback just missing a read. It just seems like every single play. And if you're a coach, I got to think you have to sit there and say, all right, I can find a way to get this at least somewhat a little bit more consistent. And so I think there's some solace in that, especially when you keep having these games where it's a one-score game. These are winnable football games that they are losing, and you have to think, hopefully, at some point this starts to turn around. That's my guess, sitting from the outside looking in, as to why, yes, LaFleur not exactly downtrodden today at his presser.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because when I took a look at everything yesterday and I saw the pivotal play, now granted, you can go through the entire game and say this, and this. But the one that I thought was the backbreaker at the end of the game was the holding call on Elton Jenkins.
Oh, 100%. If that call doesn't happen, they're in position to win the game.
Yep. Yeah, your best lineman, too.
Yes. And Elton did not have a good day at the office yesterday.
And he really, if you look at it, he really didn't need to hold him.
Nope.
No.
And that's what I mean. What I'm talking about, a brain fog, right? Like there's just something every single play almost where some one of the 11 just makes some mind-numbingly kind of somewhat inconsequential at times, but oftentimes like basically play-wrecking mistake, whether it's mental, whether it's physical, but it's happening nearly every down. That's got to be unbelievably frustrating internally. I can't imagine.
Well, we got some breaking news, boys. I didn't think we'd be talking about this because it didn't end up being a very huge play. The National Football League has suspended Broncos safety Kareem Jackson for 4 games for the hit.
Second infraction. Not surprised.
Yeah, that was second infraction for him.
Cheap play.
Really cheap. And the opinion was, of course, announced by NFL Vice President of Football Operations John Runyon, whose son plays for the Packers, which will make Denver fans upset, I'm sure, as they cry foul.
Stop hitting people in the head. This isn't tough. Yeah, like, this is the thing that drives me nuts, and specifically that type of play, right? I'm as old school as they come. I do think, yes, the NFL has somewhat legislated football itself out of some of the game, right? But it's not new. There's nothing out there anymore where you can plead ignorance. Like this has been the NFL's way of playing football now for a decade almost. Like that is a completely egregious hit. And it's his second time this year doing that nonsense.
That's why he
deserves to be sat
He's
down,
a repeat
100%.
offender. His reputation precedes.
No
Do you
question.
ever go back and look at really, really old games? Now, I know if you're going to go.
Yes, because I'm a nerd.
I mean, yeah, okay. Yeah. I know you can go back.
That's why he lives alone, according to Wayne Larrivee.
According to Wayne Larrivee. You betcha.
I mean, I know you could go back and look at the Jack Tatum hit on Darryl Stingley, but if you ever go back and look at the old games, there wasn't as much leading with the head.
No, yeah, guys did throw their shoulders.
And a lot of it is shoulder pads,
yeah.
And a lot of it was because they weren't totally caged up.
It was only 20 years ago that they had the segment Jacked Up that they would show on ESPN every week.
Blown up. Yeah, no question.
They used to celebrate that. The league is not leaning into that with all the concussion suits now. They've kind of they're not embracing that side of the game.
No, of course not.
all the great clothesline tackles of Dick Butkus.
Of course.
Or the
Ted Hendricks.
blindside blocks. Man, I love a good blindside block now. Totally illegal. Randall Cobb got fined this preseason because of one. It's just not part of the game.
Totally. All right, so Musgrave was one of the guys, and that was one of the themes, Nags, is the injuries and in-game attrition.
Oh, piling up.
It's adding to the frustration of fans. And it goes, we start at the top. Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is playing. Oh, good. They can put a spark to the offense. And he gets 8 carries. And you say, well, why are they playing him? If you can get 8 carries, why can't you get 18 carries? Well, because it's game and I know down distance situation, Drew, all that stuff. But what's the point? What are we doing here?
Right.
Nags, every time. Like you get him back, but he's not really back.
Yep. I wrote it in my gut reactions after the game. I'm like, if Aaron Jones is healthy enough to play, Aaron Jones should play. And if he's not healthy enough to play, he shouldn't play. No. Like they keep talking about pitch counts. And I'm like, what are we talking about here? The man plays football for a living. Either he's well enough to play or he's not. Now, here's the thing. We know they are a much better offense when he's on the field and getting the football. But for whatever reason, now I get pitch count, I guess, he wasn't allowed to affect the game much at all for the balance of the second half, certainly in the fourth quarter. I'm mystified. I don't get it because they always say, what do we hear from Matt LaFleur and other coaches all the time? Oh, well, there's no consideration outside of if they're well enough, if they're medically cleared, they're well enough to play, they're going to play. Well, then let him play.
Well,
do you find this at all illogical in the sense that, okay, he's good enough to play, but we're not going to play him that much because we want to wait until later on when we really need him to play. Right? Isn't that what they're doing? It's like,
I don't
know.
You can't get a real straight answer when it comes to this kind of thing. I mean, I understand needing to save him, quote, for the long haul, which is always kind of their, fallback answer. But that's what I always say. Use him to garner yourself a lead. Use him exhaustively in the first half of these games, at least, to try to build some consistency, to, score some points. And look, they're not doing enough on third down to extend these drives as it is. They're not doing much of anything when it comes to helping their running backs, create holes, do anything in the run game. Like I said earlier, there's at least one whiff up front. Nearly every play, whether it's in the run game, whether it is in pass protection. But man, when Elton Jenkins, you talked about it before, Elton Jenkins, you're supposed to be your best lineman, is whiffing on the second play of the game. They go tempo, they're trying to get something going, right? Trying to get the ball to Aaron Jones. And Elton Jenkins just does a do-si-do, loss of 2, now you're behind the sticks, where they've been living all year long. It's third and long, and now you're punting. It's a nightmare at this point where you can't even count on your best players. So I don't know. Yes, at this point, it is supremely frustrating to watch. I can't imagine how frustrating it is being in these meetings and talking and looking at the tape and saying, well, if we just do this one thing on this play, every single play.
By saving them for the long haul, you might not even get to the long haul.
Well, no, they are contractually mandated to play 17 games, so they will play those games.
No, but I mean, what is the long haul? The whole season?
The long haul is the season. No, I'm not talking about. I'm going to go Jim Mora on you on the playoffs. Don't be talking about the playoffs to me right now today after that game.
Okay, so what if you're not playing for the playoffs? What difference does it make if you have them the full season or not?
I don't know, man. You're preaching to the choir here. I want him utilized.
Yes.
No one cares what I think, though.
Right. No, I'm with you.
And then, next, but the guys dropping, people are, they're pissed about everything. Billy and I on Packers OT, people are mad at the training staff,
That's
all these hamstrings.
Can I just say, I'm going to say this live into a microphone for your listening audience, your smart and good-looking listeners. The training staff complaint is possibly, and this is a wide swath, so I don't want to like declarative here, but that is possibly the dumbest argument you can make as a fan. You have zero idea what you're talking about. Stop talking about it.
So what's dumber? Because we also got a couple people saying that they're convinced Sean Clifford should get a start, or at least get some relief action because Jordan Love needs to wake up, is what we heard.
He needs to wake up. Right.
Yeah, he needs to wake up.
See, look, the backup quarterback thing, I understand that. Like, I get that.
It's
always the most popular man in town when the starter is struggling or the offense isn't moving the ball. Of course, there are going to be calls for a backup quarterback. That I totally get. That's a tradition, right? Mark Brunell People wanted Mark Brunell to play instead of Brett Favre back in the day because Brett was stinking up the joint. Like, that is football. I get that. But this whole blaming the training staff for injuries is incredibly stupid.
Nags, we're coming up on a second anniversary of the Packers' most recent 300-yard passing game.
I saw this. Oh my gosh. I love that this narrative is going to take hold now.
December 12th against the Bears in 2021. And
over 600 days or something since the 300-yard game.
In the modern NFL, I know
it's hard to do. It's almost like they're trying.
It's hard to do. It really is hard to not throw for 300 yards at
some
that point.
Amount of time. Yeah. I mean, look. They just wanted the Bears to have some company. That's all.
I guess.
As far as ineptitude when it comes to the forward pass.
But when it comes to this, again, we've seen some of the same things. The third and longs, they're not getting out from under the third and longs, and
they keep getting in third and longs. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we see on some plays, you mentioned it earlier, like there's always just one guy screwing up. Like there was another play yesterday where Reed and Watson ran an out to the same spot
on a third down.
Down. Like, what are they doing? And at least this time it was a changeup because Matt LaFleur was yelling at Christian Watson.
Well, and he said it was, and Watson's supposed to be your vet. That's the other thing. This guy's been in the offense for a year. I understand he's missed time, but he supposedly knows the offense. How are you running to the wrong spot?
Those things are ridiculous. Now, the other thing the training staff, Sean Clifford, and then the other thing is like the check downs and stuff. And look how open that guy is. And Billy and I were laughing because on the last play, it's like, well, Jaden Reed was getting open. Well, his man was busy intercepting
the football.
He was shifted over and was in. And AJ Dillon was wide open on 3rd and 20. Yeah, he was basically at the line of scrimmage.
Right.
And it's like, you don't think that they're giving that up? They want AJ Dillon to catch the ball there?
Look,
but
yes,
he can get
they do. The only reason
steam.
Yeah, and I like his chances of getting something and getting you into a 4th and
better than the jump ball down the field. But I'm just saying that was also by design, so people look at those things and see it, and the flag goes up, and it's like, oh well.
I don't know. I can see the Jaden Reed thing, but man, oh man, AJ Dillon, there was nobody around him, and if you could get him with a head of steam,
I know
he could have at least got to the point
for him,
where he could have kicked the field goal.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean,
it was 2-down territory though, so that's the thing. You don't have to get all 20 on the first play.
That's what kind of, and Matt, to his credit, I guess, like said after the game, that's on me. I probably had a too aggressive of a call.
And it was similar to the pick that ended the threat in the Raiders game. So yeah, it's
at some point just give yourself a chance here. And look, I've seen this play now adjudicated throughout the day, right? Because that's what we do on the final play that lost the game, etc. Man, they should never have been in that position to begin with. They finally scratch and claw their way back to the lead. They're up by a point. There's 8 minutes left, and Joe Barry's playing prevent defense. Okay, I'm a little exaggerating, but that the first down on the ensuing drive, the safeties are like 25 yards off. The corners are playing like at least 10. Like, what are we doing? What happened to situational complementary football? It blows my mind, man.
Yeah, there's no law against getting a 3 and out there and giving your offense a chance to run the 5-minute offense.
Just keep competing. Just keep competing. That's what drives me nuts about this. Like, there are so many good, talented players on this team. Let them compete. Stop defanging them.
The beauty of this, Nags, is that everything's washing over you like a preseason game in that there's so much to correct. Like if Anders Carlson makes that kick in the first half, they win the game.
I know, right?
Right, and that's pretty basic.
They've been in every game except for that Detroit game, right?
Yes.
I mean, every single game has been winnable. They have.
They could be 5-1 or 1-5.
My contributor at Cheesehead TV, Camille Davis, from your neck of the woods in Milwaukee, she's put it perfectly. She's like, they keep getting there and they keep failing the test. At some point, they got to pass the test. Hopefully,
be a nice
Sunday
change of pace
in Lambeau.
Sunday in Lambeau against the always hated but never feared Vikings. Nags, great stuff as always. I know you got a mountain of content to create, and you also have carried the G tomorrow for a couple hours with our buddy Billy Schmid right before our show.
I'm looking forward to it. I hope everyone calls in and gives me all their suggestions about what the Packers should do on Sunday against the Vikings. Looking forward to it.
Nags, we'll talk to you Friday.
Talk to you guys. Have a good night.
Aaron Nagler.